Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if we have any students who are, have incarcerated parents? That we can,
No.
do you know of any?
Donna would be able to answer that question. She actually teaches them every Sunday night, so she would know.
Okay, there's a program that I just recently found out about where if the incarcerated parent puts in a request, they can get money for their student to be able to do extracurricular activities. So sports and all the things that maybe their non-incarcerated parent or grandparents, whoever's caring for them, can't afford.
Right.
But I thought of you and thought of, the kids that might want to be in sports and things that maybe aren't able to because they don't have the funds.
Maybe the best person would be my wife. She works in the public defender's office. If you ask her, she would probably know more, at least talk to the attorneys.
It's a cool program. I've got it in here somewhere on the book. But I was looking it up today to see how you get kids to qualify, and it's through. So the idea is to connect the incarcerated parent with those kids and to develop that relationship more so the parent can request for funds. And I listened to a speaker that is one of the heads of this, and he was saying that they're desperate for kids.
Is it Wyoming or
it's national?
Okay. Well, I'll sure look into it and let you know.
Yeah.
I promise you I do that.
Yeah, it's a cool program if we have kids that would benefit.
So did you get called to the wrestling meeting?
I didn't.
I just wondered.
Oh, I don't care what you're saying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'll just tell
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Or,
I just wondered if she did.
no, I thought
Okay.
I was going to attend, and I just know if it was by invitation only or how that works, so.
No, I just
I
wondered.
am. So, I'll appreciate that.
Yeah. I did. I just wondered. Yeah. And I know the majority of you guys know how I'm
You're amazing.
Less, yeah.
Oh, well, I passed. Thanks, stuff already. I'm doing good.
Well, we just brought the news. It's still. Thank you. Mrs. Adriana, she's our advocate. Mr. Thomas. She is, the superintendent. All right, thanks.
We didn't do much. My dad works up in Cody, so he came down and visited. So we just kind of relaxed. Kind of took a break from school. Oh yeah, I did a lot of that. But it's pretty good. And then we had our senior projects today, so I kind of worked on that over the spring break. So
That was nice.
yeah, it was pretty good.
Some time to do that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Those mics are, batteries are full charge, if you'll just turn them on.
Really smoothly. Yeah, it wasn't as big as I thought it was gonna be. It was really nerve-wracking at first, but I got into it. So
Yeah, it was good.
yeah. Were you on the panel for some of the kids? Yeah. How'd that go?
Yeah, I got to watch Riley too.
Oh really? That's what did he do for his project?
He still in the internship for civil engineering.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. There's some pretty interesting ones this year. Yeah.
See ya.
How are you today?
Good, you?
Good to see you.
See you.
Yes, sir.
Look at all these beautiful faces here to see me.
I want to see your smile.
That's that's the only reason. That's fine. Did you know that thing in here?
Yeah, one's right here.
Take your knee out. Hurt a little bit. They hurt a lot of it. Hurt a lot of it.
Dragging up the rear here.
Welcome, everybody. It is now 6:07, and I need to call to order this Union County School Board District Number 1 meeting. I need a motion to go into the meeting.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to go into the meeting.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Ayes have it. Ayes carries. Nope. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, to begin with, we need to approve the agenda, but first off, we need to make an amendment to the agenda. On the agenda, we need to go into an executive meeting again after the general board meeting. So if I have...
For personnel.
For personnel. For personnel, so. So I need a motion to approve the modification or amendment to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, any opposed? Ayes have it, so carries. So,
Now you
need to approve the amended agenda.
So now, I need a motion to approve the amended agenda, and that will come back after our board roundtable. So it'll be item 11 on there. 10 is the board roundtable, 11 will go into the executive session. So that's the amendment to it. So I need a motion to approve the amendment to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes carry, motion carries, so. I need also, we should have went on with this, I need to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C, the minutes from 28 and February 28th and March 7th, and B, the payment of bills, and C, the special education related services contract. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion,
I'll second that.
I have a second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
discussion, I just need to recuse myself from check 121-224.
okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next, we go down to Mr. Thomas and to some presentations, and I suppose that's all you.
Chairman Peterson, members of the board, would like to introduce the classes. Who is going to speak on their state champions class?
Yes.
Two-time state champion.
Thank you. Maybe if I can. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you so much for having us here today. We really appreciate it. I'm going to speak for a minute, and then I have a couple of girls that are going to say a few words. One of them's still at practice, so we'll see if she gets here. But and then we'll share with you a video of one of our state performances. So I knew from the very first day of Classics tryouts in 2022 that this team was going to be something truly special, a force to be reckoned with, if you will. These girls were incredibly talented and had a lot already going for them and in their favor. It would be neglectful of me if I did not attribute that to my predecessor, Janice Davis, for the work and the foundation that she set forth many years ago. The foundation that is something that has truly helped launch this program into what it is today. Being a first-year coach here in a small town, and as somebody who wasn't raised in Evanston, I truly had my work cut out for me. Traditions to learn, people to prove wrong, and a program that I wanted to push to the next level. I'm forever grateful for these 20 girls that are in front of you, for their belief in my vision and the direction I wanted to take the team this year. They have been a dream to work with all year long, and I'm incredibly grateful for each and every one of them. They are incredibly smart, talented, beautiful, resilient, and hardworking, to say the least. They have worked hard all year long, loving, supporting, and at times caring one another. They have quickly become a family, and you'll always hear them leaving each other with an I love you bye. To say that they have earned this recognition as two-time state champions is a huge understatement. As their coach, I would like to personally thank you as a board, our superintendent, athletic director, Evanston High School administration and staff, our friends, our families, the student body, as well as the incredible community for cheering us on every step of the way. We are proud to represent this incredible community and are honored to be able to bring these state championships home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cameron.
We have had an amazing year with a great team.
Can I
sorry.
interrupt just a little bit? I need introductions. We're all new
Sorry.
on the school board, so as you come up and you speak to us, we would really like to know who you are, who's presenting before us or talking to us, so.
I'm Camry Frogner, the captain of the team this year. So we have had an amazing year with a great team. I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to dance under Candace this year. We were able to accomplish a lot with her. A big thing we focused on this year was the energy bus. We wanted our team to be built on positivity, and we wanted to get rid of what we call the energy vampires, or anyone that would bring us down. Because we focused on having this positive energy, we were able to accomplish amazing things. We had many new opportunities this year to dance at places around town, and we got to go to some out-of-state competitions. We attended a Utah competition and placed second with our hip-hop routine, which was a really fun way to start off our competitions, and it gave us more practice to compete our routines. Then we tried to go to state in January, but that didn't work out. So our next competition was in Florida. We did 3 different routines there, and all of them placed in the top 10. I was so grateful to have this opportunity to go to Florida. It gave me another opportunity to perform with my team, and it was another practice performance before we went to state. Then we were able to travel to our state competition, and we won 2 state championships, which is absolutely insane, and it still doesn't feel real. We worked as a team super hard for those state titles. Almost a full year of waking up at 5 in the morning to go to practice before school, and then having 2-a-days to perfect our state routines, constantly changing them so that they were the best they could possibly be. And through it all, we really became a team and basically family. In the end, all of our hard work paid off, and I'm so proud of my team and all that we accomplished. I'm glad I got to finish my time with the Classics this way.
Thank you. So, real quick, you got somebody else coming up?
I don't think she made it yet.
Hasn't made it yet?
Oh, she's right here. Sorry.
Okay, so explain the 2 competitions you were in and then who you competed against, because I understand one was in the 4A class and the other one was in the 3A class?
Yeah.
So could you please expand on that a little bit and let us know?
For state?
Yeah, for state.
Okay, so for our state jazz routine, it was everyone in Wyoming, well, like all of the dance teams, 4A, 3A, 2A, and we won like the whole thing. We got first. And then for state hip hop, we were in the 3A division, and so we won first for that. There was enough teams to split it up between 3A and 4A for that.
All right, thanks. Cool.
I think it's important on the record that people understand we don't get to pick and choose where we compete. The reason why we competed 4A in the jazz category against 4A, 3A, 2A is because there's not enough registration in the other divisions to make a full team or a full division or category, which has to be a minimum of 6.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Perfect.
Okay. Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Allie Sanchez, and I was the co-captain of this year's team. So I get the opportunity to talk about like state and kind of how it was. So our first state was like in January, but it got canceled obviously due to the weather. But in those few extra months that we were given, we definitely went through kind of a slump, and it was super hard to wake up for practice, and girls were getting sick and everyone was just super tired, but we pushed through and we used our extra time to help strengthen all of our championship dances. The day of state number 2, we woke up and we went and ate team breakfast, and I was so thankful for Candace to keep us all pumped and excited and reassuring us that we got this. She read us some quotes that morning and talked about how we have to come together as a team, and this is our final go-around. It was crazy because everything was just falling into plan. Everyone was extremely calm, and this was like the most calm I had ever felt at a state, and I've been to 3. And then we made it to the event center at about 10:30, and we stayed there till about 9 by the time we finished taking our pictures with our 2 state championship trophies. In those hours leading up to our performances, we marked the floor, ate lunch, got our robot makeup on, stretched, talked, and took our gratitude walk. Then by the time it was time to start going down to jazz, we went to the tunnel, we prayed and cheered, and we felt ready and so together as a team. It was the same thing for hip-hop. As a team, we were feeling so confident and so excited to show the state what we had. It was overall an amazing experience. Even coming back home to the fire trucks and having the high school cheer us on, it was so surreal. It honestly just makes us younger girls that will be on the team next year just want to work just as hard as we did this year to accomplish the 2 state titles again.
Thank you.
Just to give you a little treat, or not, we're going to share our state championship dance with you. Oh, sorry, before I do that, you know I don't listen to direction. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you guys again. We appreciate it.
Very good, girls. Look good.
Thank you.
If I can.
See you back here next
Yeah, go ahead.
If I can, just real quick,
Oh, yeah.
just thinking about your guys' season, and is there another program in the school district that practices in the morning at 5 a.m.? Any other program?
The cheerleaders do.
Okay, the cheerleaders. Any other program that practices year-long, like you do?
Cheer goes about the same
Okay.
season as we go,
But it's remarkable when you look at through the trials of waking up early, through everything else, through January, through the getting off the routine, your strength has become through your struggles, right?
Absolutely.
And what an example that is, just not for the community, but every athletic department across the board. You guys have set a high standard because of your dedication, your strength, your dedication. Well, I guess I said dedication, but I'll say it again. Commitment, absolutely. And so thank you for that. It's wonderful to see and bring 2 state championships to Evanston. It's well needed, so it's awesome.
And
Great job.
the sick thing is we miss it when we're not doing it. Yeah, we're all kind of lost,
Very
so.
proud of you.
I have to say something here. I am so proud of these girls. And I texted Camry and told her to tell the team, and I hope she did, to kick butt. And I want you to know you did, and I am so proud of you girls. And the state is in awe of you. Thank you for your hard work and your state championship. I applaud.
All righty, I guess we will move on with Mr. Thomas. Next, we have the SAVE,
Jesse, come on
Task
down.
Force.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that.
Put on the little tech uniform and dance.
You don't want that. But let me tell you, congratulations. I am looking at the future leaders. You guys, I don't even like dance that much. So, yes, thank you. My name is Jessie Barnes. I am the new Executive Director for SAFE Task Force, which stands for Sexual Assault and Family Violence. We are the community program. We work with dating and domestic violence victim and survivors, sexual assault, stalking, elder abuse, and human trafficking victim and survivors. And we're here today because April is a really huge month in our line of work. It's not only Sexual Assault Awareness Month, but it's also Child Abuse Prevention Month. Victim Rights Week falls in April, which is the last week of April, and Denim Day. And if you've never heard the story of Denim Day and why it's so important, I really encourage you to look it up. Adriana is our advocate over in the Bridger Valley, and she handed you these cards. These are an invitation to, we're having a proclamation signing, and this year we're putting them all together and just doing a crimes victim proclamation, because we want to celebrate those who survived these horrific things, and we want to let the community know that they have support here. With it being Child Abuse Awareness Month, we ask you as the board leaders, the school board leaders, the head of the departments, to come and support this and say that this is not okay, and that we believe the survivors, we believe the victims. And so we're having a signing on the 17th of April at noon at Evanston Regional Hospital, and we would really like it for all of you to be there. And then on the 26th of April, which is Denim Day, we're having a walk, and they say walk a mile in her shoes, because if you've never had to walk a mile in a victim's shoes, good, I'm so glad, I'm so grateful. But again, we want our community to know that they don't have to fight these things alone. And so we're having a small get-together lunch along with other victim witness programs, the police department, the sheriff's department, the county attorney's office, the hospital. And we would just really like to include you all this year. We've been lucky enough to get into the schools to talk about healthy and unhealthy relationships since I started working with SAFE, which was 9 years ago. And so I think now that I'm the director, I want to get out and invite you all, because you're such a vital piece of these kids' life. You are the first responders. You see what we don't see. And so, thank you for your work.
So I got a question for you real quick.
Absolutely.
On the proclamation signing, who is signing that? Who's involved with it? And what is involved, or what is said or stated within the proclamation?
So for the proclamation signing here in Evanston, it's going to be Mayor Kent Williams.
Okay.
The Bear River proclamation for child abuse and crime victims was tonight. So we have an advocate that went out there. And then next week, both of the town of Mountain View and Lyman are signing proclamations. And so I'm not sure what all Mayor Kent Williams is going to say, but there is going to be a picture. So, you know, if you don't want to be in the picture, that's okay too. But, you know, we want to show, if somebody reads about these things and they see how much support there is from different agencies and departments and people who are involved in people's lives who could be victims, I think the better. Because I think a lot of times people don't come forward because they're afraid they're not going to be believed. And so just having your face there or representatives there might help somebody come forward or find the courage to say something. Also, on your card, there is a QR scan code. Murdoch's and Marisa's here in Evanston, and then the K Cottage and Silver Stitch in the Bridger Valley have partnered with us to give away a free pair of jeans for Denim Day. They're gonna, I know Murdoch's is gonna give a pair of jeans for men and women, and then Varsity Inc. is making t-shirts, and they're giving away a t-shirt for people to wear that day. And so you can scan it and just sign up, and we'll do the drawing on the 19th. There is a link to the Denim Day story. If you want to read about that, it's on this link. And then, you know, you can always call one of the agencies that work with victims in UNT County. I know that they're always happy to talk and educate, and that's part of our mission, is to educate our community about these crimes and where they can go. So I thank you for letting us come here.
So I'm gonna bring this up right now. Mr. Thomas, do we have anything in place at our high schools or in our middle schools that we address this as SAV, what do you call it, SAV or SAVA?
Safe.
Safe.
It's like safe, but with safe,
Okay.
yeah, with a V.
Do we address this then in our high schools and stuff and have presentations on
As
that?
Jesse mentioned, that they have access to our schools and to our schools.
Okay.
Yes, we get to go in and talk to the ninth graders. It used to be once a year, but now they changed classes, so we get to go in and talk with them twice a year. And you know, they're
Through the health class.
Yeah, it's through the health class.
So what
Yeah.
about our middle school level? I mean, because obviously at that level, there's issues that we deal with as well. So I don't know if we need to, at our middle school levels, is have something that addresses at some point. Because I think this is huge. I'm so presenting this to us, I really think it's,
Well,
like you
thank
said,
you.
knowledge is important.
I'm nervous, not only
So-
because, right, Mr. Thomas was my 7th grade math teacher. So I'm always like this, oh my gosh, you know, but when I called to ask him, you know, he congratulated. He's seen me go through so much, and probably is amazed that I'm standing here as a director of a program, as I am. But we have gotten into the middle school, and we partner with EMS when they do their reality town.
Okay.
And Davis is a little bit more hard, but I understand it. I understand that sometimes, you know, and we always have been, we go to Horizon and forget Mr. Hamilton, thank you. We've sent him our slideshows. Everything is directed towards age groups, and, we try to keep it within that. So we have been able to get in, and I think the life that, I worked in the after-school program with Youth Opportunities Unlimited before I did this, which was the after-school program before the youth club. And I think that kind of helped also my passion with youth to be able to get in there and work with them. And we have, talked to kids. And we work with kids 16 and older, but we do have other agencies, the police department, the sheriff's department, that work with younger age kids. And, one thing that Evanston has, that has always had since I've started working in more public realms, is we support each other. The agencies support each other. They don't have that around this state. And so when we go to trainings and that, how do you get your police department to work with you? I joke and say, buying food. But, it's true. The courts is really great, everything. So, yes, I'm going to kind of go over Mr. Thomas and say yes. The school has been very good about letting us, and then also if there's ever been a problem, letting that be taken care of in a professional manner, so.
Anything else from the board at all?
You did a great job.
Thank you.
You work with church, and you've been pivotal. You're our first call sometimes when we see something, so not only do you help the youth, I've seen you help senior citizens, and it's amazing, so appreciate all the work.
Victimization doesn't have an age.
That's right.
So we applaud you, thank you for your service and allowing us the time to come in here.
Let us know any way we can support you, so.
All right, well, we hope to see you guys on the 17th and the 25th. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I still need a call from you.
All right, Mr. Dennis. Money. That was a good topic, right?
Chairman Peterson.
Oh, we're live. All right, Mr. Dennis. There's a delay on there.
All right, I hadn't thought about that. So, I might have you just plug in there. That's what I get for running the live stream of our board meeting from my laptop here as well. So, Chairman Peterson, members of the board, thank you for this opportunity. I get to represent a couple departments tonight. I know everybody on this side of the peanut gallery always is worried about how much time I'm going to take. We should be done in the next 2.5 hours. Is this all maybe 2 minutes? It's all one. Okay. So it makes it really
No, it's put in there twice, but it's the exact same
You read it, yep. So as we kind of get through the slides here, the first one is just really a big thank you. I just wanted to publicly thank all of my people. My technology staff, our maintenance staff, our custodial staff, the warehouse staff, just everybody. They do a tremendous job in the things that they do. They're kind of like the quiet people behind the scenes, oftentimes. And then they wanted me to express to you just their gratitude to our superintendent, to you as members of the board, for the employee retention checks that you have provided. For some of these, that one check is equivalent to an entire month's salary. And so, thank you for that. It means a lot to these individuals. So, as we move on to the next slide, I'm just kind of talking about some of the accomplishments. Naturally, you are all aware of the big water project that we did. We did finish that project up right shortly before Christmas. They did the last of the things kind of in January. It was a big project. Kudos to our high school for their allowing us to start in April this year. We were kicking them out of their locker rooms, and we were able to start that project early, and even some of our locker rooms got a little bit more time away from students as they were trying to finish that in late November and December with some painting and stuff like that, so fairly big. With that, we also had our EHS locker room renovations with the new lockers, new flooring. The playground over at UME, it's a big hit. A lot of kids were excited. I've had a lot of questions. Why is it we can't have a merry-go-round, but we can have a spider web 40 feet in the air? I don't know. I don't know why we can't, but those are the rules and regulations, and I think the kids have loved the spider web. No broken bones, Brad?
Not on that.
Oh, good.
Yes, we have.
Well, weren't you telling me the other day you had a concussion? You fell off the spider web or something?
My son had a concussion.
Oh, okay.
Now we're all good.
That's awesome. So I know that the kids have been super excited about that playground over there. We did some more asphalt over at transportation. We had a little bit of a project on the east side of UME. We've been working on the trainer's room. I think we've got 99% of that done. I know our trainer has been a great asset to our district, and we had to quickly transition a classroom into a trainer's classroom, which required some modifications, but has been really good and a great benefit for all of our students and our student athletes who've been involved. And then, just some upgrades with our pool. Just so that you guys know, on average, we spend probably anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 a year just on chemicals, filters, different things to continue to maintain the two pools that we have. And so there is a cost. It's a good thing, but as both of our pools are about the same age, we're going on almost 40 years, it starts to add up. So
major maintenance, you have to use the 10% for the pools.
Yes, creative financing, 10%, unless there's something else you happen to be doing in another part, then you can kind of work that in, but typically 10%. So when we get our 2.5 million, then that allotted, that gives us $250,000. Pools is part of that. Track surfaces is part of that. Press boxes are part of that. And oftentimes any work that we do inside, like even central office here, has to be taken out of 10%, which is kind of unique. So they give you this money and then they narrow down your scope with that. So, okay. We did some security camera additions. Naturally, you guys are totally aware of the track and field and the cost for that. We did a server upgrade. So if you didn't know, our main servers reside over at Horizon High School, and that's what runs pretty much everything within the district. So everything is centrally fed there, and then through fiber, we connect all of our schools and then come back there. And so it had been about 10 years since we'd upgraded our servers, and so we had a server upgrade this year. With help with ESSER funds, we were able to provide an iPad to every teacher, and they have loved it. They've been using them. It's been exciting to see their excitement for that. I had one that I had to take down for repair, and it took about 2 weeks, and she was anxious after day 2. When do I get that back? When do I get that back? So it's been great. TVs in every room now, which they've been using. We replaced all of our network switches, except for the ones at Clark. We purchased these switches in 2020. We got most of them this last summer, and I'm still waiting on the last 25. And so it's been kind of interesting. on the technology side and some of the things that we've had to wait almost 2.5, 3 years just to get. So interesting that way. If you haven't been over to North and Aspen, they're modulars. We recited both of those. Really did a nice upgrade, made them look much better. Been able to do some nice work around there. And then if you haven't had a chance to go into the Davis Middle School, the new commons flooring that we did throughout that was a nice upgrade to that. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but further on we're going to redo all their carpet this year, and so that school will have a fresh new look. So as we look at just some accomplishments, I think these facts are kind of unique. Our warehouse delivered roughly 2,600 packages across the district, and this was since I put things together, so almost the beginning of March is when I put this presentation together, so we've done even more than that. 13,000 pieces of mail have been sent out. That's a lot of paper. 5,784 reams, equivalent to 461 boxes. And then you talk about toilet paper. What's interesting is each one of these things have had a significant cost over the last couple of years since COVID. The price of paper, as far as reams, has been $2 more than it was 2 years ago. And so that's kind of had some financial strains on some of our budgets. Toilet paper hasn't come down since the start of COVID, but it has continued to stay up. And paper towels, ice melt. Oh boy, this was the year of ice melt and salt, and we probably could have used even more. Been a unique winter. I want to say summer, but it's been a unique winter in that regard. Looking at the square footage that our custodians, almost 1 million square feet is what our custodians clean every single day. And so kudos to them for the work that they do. At 468 classrooms across the district, that doesn't include offices or the gyms or anything like that. Just classrooms alone is that. So what are we looking at to accomplish this next summer? Naturally, we've been talking about the domes for the last couple months, and we're still moving forward with that. If all goes well, we'll have those out to bid end of next week. We'll talk later in the board meeting kind of about the finances and where we are with that, but things are progressing. Just to let you know, with the domes are here. We have them now here in Evanston. Thanks to some help, we were able to acquire some warehouse space, and we've got them stored right now and starting to go through that. So that's a positive thing. Took 6 semi-trucks to get all of that up here to Evanston. So Eric South was able to help us with that. Bus barn lifts, we've talked about this. I know Mr. Fackrell kind of brought this up. Another positive news in talking with the state is we've kind of gone back and forth. We are going to replace all 3 of those this summer. The nice thing is that it doesn't all have to come out of major maintenance. The state is now going to allow transportation to use their funds, which are refundable, reimbursed. They'll put in for this year and then get reimbursed next year. And so at least 3/4 of it, as far as the lifts themselves, will be reimbursed. And then as far as major maintenance, I'll take care of just the removal, any new concrete, any of the tie-ins that we need for that. So that's a positive. We will open bids on the 24th of April and then award that next day. So hopefully they can get started ASAP on that. Hoping to, I've been putting Mr. Peterson off for 2 years, and this is the year he's going to have a new deck and awning over the modulars, which will be really good so that we don't have snow and ice kind of flowing off the modulars there where students are entering into those classrooms. Still working on the EMS auditorium lighting. We're doing some technology wireless upgrades, which means that all the wireless access points throughout the district, hopefully this summer, will be upgraded. Those 70% of that is coming from E-rate. So E-rate's federal dollars that'll pay up to 70%, and then we just pay the remaining 30%. So that's a win-win for us in that regard.
So you're increasing the data blockers, is that what that's for? They're amazing. I pull up to the schools and everything in my truck turns off, so it's whatever it does, it works well.
We try, yeah. So, DMS, UME, HVAC, and I think that'll also include Aspen. Those are HVAC controls, basically, that runs the behind the scenes to control our heating and cooling. UME door locks will be in place this year, and that's the interior door locks. Just to kind of give you an idea, when they talk about replacing door locks, this is just for the locks themselves is about $80,000 for one school. So when somebody loses a key, I always like, please don't tell me you have lost a key, because $80,000 to just replace all the door locks. DMS carpet is mentioned, and then the EMS gym floor. That'll start the 1st of June, basically sanding that down completely, and then repainting and refinishing on that. So a little bit of a summer started. We'll see what other projects we add to that, but we've got a good start
So how
with
are
that.
roads and parking lots held up? I haven't driven around them. I don't know what kind of potholes and what kind of maintenance we're going to have to do, so.
I've got some potholes. One thing I didn't add on here, we could start a whole litany of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll probably, we'll have some areas that we'll do some patching with, and if financially we can do it, we're going to slurry seal all of our parking lots, slurry seal and repaint, which will be really good.
That one at the high school is big enough to be considered a pool.
Yeah.
Really?
Just as you entered,
No. Not yet.
gonna let all that, let the sunlight heat that up, and maybe I won't have to heat the inside pool again. So, again, just a big thank you to you as a board for all your support. I know I come to you with lots of needs for funding. From the tech side, I always mention we're kind of the big black hole. You can't throw enough money my way. It seems like technology is always progressing, and we're always needing to upgrade, and every time we upgrade, it's more than it was last time with that. So just thank you. Appreciate all that you do in supporting us. So I know that was quick. Tried to make it quick. Questions for me?
I just have a concern that I've had some conversations with some concerned citizens in the last, due to the last recent shootings that took place in Tennessee, right? Tennessee. I had some parents ask what we're still doing to try and improve the safety features at the schools. One of the parents in particular talked about what the cost would be to just replace the glass for the offices. You know, like in the high school, there's that window so that Nikki can see out. What the cost would be to replace those windows that are surrounding the offices with bulletproof glass, since that's usually the first point of contact that they come in with. I said, I'll ask them about it. I mean, I know we're always trying to improve our safety features, but I didn't know if that's something that's still on the radar that we might be looking at in the future, or... I know it's not feasible to do all the windows in every school, and we talked about that, but they...
Definitely something we can look at again and get some pricing. I know I'd had DeRue's do some pricing before, and another glass company get us some pricing, so I will work on that, and by next board meeting have some more solid numbers on what that would be for kind of each of the office window areas.
You know, even if we just did a few at a time, if we could work those in, and it was a good idea when we talked about it before, and I think it's anything we can do to keep improving that. I think we need to try and work some of that in.
So yeah, definitely security's been a top part of, and we talk about, you know, major maintenance. Fortunately, we have some security funds that we're able to use some things. I've been working with the company right now to kind of do a major upgrade to all of our access controls and security, and so working on that. It's a big number, I'll tell you, and maybe next board meeting I'll be able to share with you kind of all of that, but it will do a lot.
And not wanting to put anything that we are currently working on the back burner. I mean, obviously you need to prioritize what we need to do, but I still think we should keep that on the radar, and even if it's just doing one office a year, you know, just so that we're still trying to
there was a neat, not to detract from the rest of the meeting, but I had a vendor come in today. We use Roland as our sound system for our PA systems through all the schools, and our last 2 schools will be updated either in May or in June. Those parts finally came in after 18 months. But they've added another feature which would actually allow us to put on the outside of every classroom kind of a light indicator. And what that light indicator would do is then from the kiosk in the office, if they did a secure in place, you were able to push that button. It would announce over the PA system, secure in place. The teachers have buttons in their classroom. There's a red button and a blue button on all the rooms that have been upgraded. And with that, they can push the blue button, which means that they've accounted for all of their students in that room, and then it would give a green light in the hallway. So those first responders would be able to say, that classroom's good, that classroom's good. Matt's classroom has a red button. That needs to be our first priority as a first responder, because either not all students have checked in or maybe there's an issue with that. And so really intriguing to me, something that would just integrate to what we already have was really cool. The other thing, our audio enhancement systems, which are called Lightspeed systems, can integrate into this so that if there is an announcement, public announcement or whatever, with that integration, if the teacher was talking or if they were showing some sort of video or YouTube or something like that, it would actually silence that in the room, so everybody in the room would be able to hear the announcement coming over the PA system. And so it's interesting. People are very aware, and I think, you know, situations like what just happened brings that to the surface again, and knock on wood, hopefully we won't ever have to do with it, but hopefully we're doing things to try to mitigate as much as possible. So.
Peterson, members of the board, just to add to that, it's a constant upgrade, and if we had unlimited funds, I can tell you Jerry could use them. One of the challenges we have is just the idea of high school has 27 entrances. And you've seen the techniques or the methods that individuals are using to enter into schools. We need to continue to keep up, but there's just
there's a lot
in terms of dollars. What I think would be more appropriate is if we had an opportunity during our retreat to go over the security issues that we're working on. So it's not that they're private, but again, some of those strategies should be kept here and not out in the community.
Right.
We have talked about bulletproof glass. The old glass that used to be in schools, remember the wire mesh inside them? Not as attractive as the glass we have now, but our buildings weren't built for security. They were built, especially in high school, to look good.
Right.
It's got probably the biggest security issues we have. So a lot of work to do there. I guess I'm just our kudos to our principals. They are tirelessly training, and that's the key. Our students and staff are prepared. Many of the features that we've spent a great deal of money on are just to mitigate loss. Keeping an individual out of our schools is the utmost challenge. He wants to come in and hurt kids.
I agree.
And that's where we'll continue to put time and money in. But that's, no one has a good answer for that right now. Well-trained, well-informed students is our best bet right now to mitigate loss.
Another big thing that you guys, thank you, Superintendent Thomas. Another big thing that you probably have seen coming across the media is the increased cybersecurity threats happening at schools. And just so you know, I'm looking at a product that we'll be putting in this summer as another way, but we've got to do some training and some things with that, because our biggest weak link is ourselves with that. All it takes is a click on an email, and we've introduced something that then anytime that happens, it'll take Bill or Jared, my two network guys, at least a day, sometimes 2 days, just to reverse, stop, and you know, that's quite a bit of time that starts to go down. John can attest that insurance anymore, that's one of the questions that's asked by our insurance companies is, what are you doing for cybersecurity, and what means have you put in place, and the things that you're doing. And so we talk about security with just the physical part, but then we've got to protect our students and our student data and all the things that we have stored here, so that 10 years down the road, I don't have Caleb coming and saying, hey, my identity was stolen, and we can show that it came from UNT County School District number 1. And so there's a couple things that we're balancing all the time. Makes it kind of scary. So, any other questions?
Great.
Thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty. Did you address the drones that you wanted to? Enough on it? Dome, not drones, domes. Drones, what's going on? Yeah, so anyway, I told my wife, I'm getting old. The dome progress, so that's what I'm saying. As we're going down through our list of item 6, it was the maintenance. Now, domes, we're going to talk anything about that right now.
Is that in between? I can't remember.
It's coming.
Okay, I'll be back.
It's coming back.
No, I'm right here. I'm right there. Department budget reports, maintenance, and the next thing on there was dome progress. Yeah, I know he mentioned that on there. I heard it, that it was going out to bid next week, but I didn't know if that was a complete presentation. So
No, that was it.
That was it?
We're progressing.
Okay, we're progressing, so we're to that point.
The financing
Okay.
is coming, and we'll talk more about the domes here later during the...
Okay, all right. And then technology. So, next on the agenda is the review budget timeline, meeting the coffers.
Chairman Peterson, members of the board, just an update. We're progressing. We have, I'll say, initial figures of the WD 100 in terms of the amount of funding that we received. What we're waiting for now, probably the biggest number, unfortunately, is our renewal of health insurance. We always are hopeful that it won't come in high. It's been a rough year everywhere, so I'm pretty sure healthcare will go up. Once we get those figures, we can start putting things together, start finalizing the budget. John and I will work in the next couple of weeks to run through some scenarios about salaries and benefits. Can't do a great deal until we get the healthcare bill. I do think the numbers are positive. The ECA that was provided by the legislature will definitely help. If we could just guarantee that every year, it should be nice. Right now we can't. But anyway, again, the report that you just received from Technology and Maintenance is part of our budget process. Next month will be K-5 and 612 curriculum, and that'll be basically it in terms of the presentations that will be made for the budget. We'll have a draft budget, I believe, in May, so you can take a look at. Also, this leads to negotiations in May. Set aside the 2nd is our board meeting. We usually do negotiations sometimes after the week of the 8th, so the 9th, 10th, or 11th. If you're okay, I'll reach out to EEA and see what days work best for them.
Okay.
We've always worked with 3 or 4 board members on the negotiating team. It's always a positive experience. We'll provide dinner, then we'll get into negotiations with the EEA, meet and confer. And if you're okay with those dates, 9th, 10th, and 11th, to begin that process, it's kind of how we begin it every year.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for. Any questions about the budget?
Not yet.
I do not believe so. So the meet and confer will be in May. And that's all that we have on discussion items.
It is.
And so I guess now we can go to public comments, if we have anybody from the public. Anybody? Bueller?
I have a public comment.
Oh, okay.
I'm Jeff Phillips, the board attorney. My address is 9002 Highway 150 South. Casey Boyle died recently after a long battle with cancer. He coached me 4 years in high school in swimming. He helped raise many members of our community, had a tremendous impact on so many people here through his teaching and his coaching. He was an amazing coach, a very good teacher, and a great friend. This tribute is obviously very personal for me since I knew him so well, but he worked in our district how many years, Ryan, do you know? Long time. I think he was up in Jackson coaching there when he died, but just wanted to mention him and make a little tribute here publicly at our board meeting. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
Moving on.
Get out of here early.
All right.
Yeah, everybody's excited. I guess we'll move on to our action items if we don't have any public comments. So the first action item that we have to deal with is we have our personnel. We have to deal with the resignations, the leaves of absence, and the certified staff contracts. I need a motion to approve the resignations and leave of absence and the certified staff contracts.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who was the motion?
Motion, second.
I was the motion.
And then Dan, so. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on our action items is to approve the student discipline that we reviewed in the executive session. So I need a motion to approve those.
Mr. Chairman, I'll motion to approve the recommendations presented during executive session.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next, we need to discuss a little bit. We need to make an appointment to the Evanston Park and Recreation Board. Any volunteers?
Chairman Peterson,
Or
members of the board, if I may, we talked about this just a little bit last month, is it doesn't have to be a member of the board. This is appointed by the board.
Yeah.
So it can be a director or a principal, someone that has expressed interest in that. Haven't asked the principals or directors, so what I would recommend is we table this for a month and get a chance to see if there is members of our community that could represent our board on that, unless there's a member of the board that would like to do it.
Didn't Brian say he would? Didn't Brian last meeting? Didn't Brian Woodward say last meeting that he would?
He's on the board.
Yeah.
So Brian's on the board.
Brian's on the board.
Yeah, but he said he'd take that appointment, didn't he?
Yeah, he was at the last meeting. So it's Brian and I, and that's it.
Yeah, I thought he's, yeah.
Well, Josh Welling is a school board.
Representative, yeah.
And then who else?
Trying to think who just,
Joel.
yeah, it's Cody Bateman.
Because Joel, you're not going to continue, correct?
I asked to resign from
That's what it
the rec
is.
board.
Yeah, it's with Joel. So,
Oh, okay. Because I was like, we should have.
yeah, so we would really like if there was somebody that was with the district, only meet once a month, and it's pretty concise. Meetings run pretty quick.
They do.
Yep.
I just have a conflict on the second Thursday, so.
Yeah, it's the second Thursday, and so I would encourage anyone to consider and step up, and it talks about the rec center and cemetery and the golf course and
Sports.
youth sports. So all of those are going to pick up, and so it's.
So really what I would ask is if the board has any names, community members, I'd be willing to give them a call and ask if they want to participate. I'll put it out to the directors and principals, see if anyone's interested that way. We can put it out to the staff, if we have a staff member that wants to do it.
Okay. Good. So, with no movement on this, I want to make a motion to table this until our May meeting.
May 2nd meeting.
May 2nd meeting.
Sounds good.
So I need a motion to table this appointment. Got a motion?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. So that will be tabled to the May meeting. The next item, action item, is we need to approve the financing of the domes.
Come on down, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams has a presentation for you, and then we'll have a few things to discuss.
Oh, I think that's why everybody thought I was way off. It was way down towards the bottom.
We weren't going to say anything.
No, we just let it ride. We're good.
Just ignore me.
All right.
So do you have option A and option B? Or just one
And
good solid option?
C and D.
And C and D.
We got
Okay.
several options.
Fantastic.
Oh, there it is. Well, all right, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. All right. I'm pleased to at least bring something to you. And there are, like we said, multiple options. I guess it's even taking my voice
Oh, there we
down.
go. Yeah, it is. Look at that.
Technology today. Wow.
Yes.
So the board's asked me, they've tasked me with to go find some financing of this. And basically, there are two bids that I was directed to go find. One at 1.5 million and one at 1.75 million. The difference is largely attributable to probably FF&E and how much, are we looking at doing for that. And so I went out, I put it in the newspaper, we published it twice. I hand-delivered it to all of the banks here in Evanston, requesting financing. And as well as if we had done any financing with buses recently, I didn't deliver it to Zions, and Zions had been in the past. But as you see, we've got Wells Fargo and US Bank and First Bank and basically all the players in town. Interestingly, Hogan Construction phoned me up and said, hey, we'd be interested in bidding on the financing side of it. Now, what they were talking about is they would, if they win the financing, then they would slide that over to the construction.
So like an EPC contract where they want engineer procurement?
Yeah, it was kind of a, they have somebody that would finance it and things. And so I entertained that. So as you see, the closing date was March 30th, right before spring break and things. So here's the bid results, and as you go down, I went from the highest to lowest. You see the First American gave us a bid at 3.99%. Basically, we would have two semi-annual payments of $89,000. So every 6 months we would be paying that, but 3.99% was a real, I thought it was a real, that's a good offer. Now, First American is the company, they're out of New York, and so the first two at least, and Hogan, there might be a advantage, a 5% difference, not 5% in total differential, we could give to Wyoming Preference.
Right.
But that 3.99%, kind of blows things out of the water. First American is the company that we have the latest bus leases with. And they're out of New York, upstate New York, not downstate. And having lived in...
I'm glad you clarified that.
I'm glad you clarified that.
I went to school in Syracuse, so there is a difference. I'll tell you that. So
we didn't want to hear it say New York City.
New York City. You did what? So this is First American's proposal, and really the issue that First American has, and with all other
entities. Every entity that we got a bid from, we had a discussion on this, and it comes down to collateral. In other words, all of the finance companies are saying, okay, we'll loan you the money, but what if you do a non-appropriation? How do we get our money back? And especially when you're talking about concrete and wiring and plumbing and whatever goes into the thing, it's really hard to.
We have a third dome.
The amount of collateralization is minuscule. I mean, even if we said, all right, let's take the HVAC systems, and that's not going to cover what they're wanting. And so First American has kind of an interesting thing. They said, hey, we will loan you the money, 1.5 or 1.75, but what you do is you write us a check for the amount, and we put it into an escrow account that you own, and you get the interest, okay?
Yeah.
And then we will send you 1.5 or 1.75, and you put it in your bank account, and you use it to pay the contractors and things. And okay, once that's done, all right, 1.5 million, boom, we've got the domes, we're off and running. 6 months later, from the time that the timer starts, the day that we get we then send them the first payment. And then 6 months after that, we send a second payment. So roughly, it's $200,000 a year, not counting this first year. It could be that we only send one payment of $100,000. And then what this agreement would allow is we then could start withdrawing from that escrow account. As we pay off the loan, we can start sinking that escrow account. That satisfies their desire of that. In other words, if we renege on the situation, they say, fine, we'll take the remaining balance in the escrow account. Okay? Now, but that doesn't satisfy our side, which is, although and the backing of this this financing is First American. There's a couple of banks, and these are big banks. And I said, okay, so what's the collateralization on your side? I mean, if we end up giving you 1.5 million or whatever, heaven forbid, but banks fail. And so the discussion has been that there's two ways of collateralizing on that side, because there's a Wyoming statute that says that we have to have our money 100% insured. So one of them is to do what's called a sweep. The other is what's called CDRS, which is a CD that's kind of insured, so that we can get it insured if a bank were to fail, that they're not giving our money away to somebody else. Okay? And to make trying not to be too technical, but they would ladder these CDs so that we'd have, it would mature at this time and this time and this time. Okay? So what's interesting about this is that they said the interest that we get on this escrow is ours. And they're charging us 3.99%, but that interest right now is about 3.5%. So in essence, the interest, the net effective interest rate is a little less than 0.5%, and it could be even less. That's great. So that's one option of that. Now,
So I guess
you might be going, well, wait a minute, why are we even doing this? I mean, why take out a loan if it's, you know, the reason you would take out a loan is, and finance this, is to protect your fund balance. Okay, so right now, holding a lot of things constant, and that includes not, you know, spending on the lifts, which we are going to. So there's going to be a little bit, those transportation lifts, if we, you know, spend several $100,000, that swings that down. But right now, holding everything constant, fund balance should be coming in about 4.7 million. Okay? And we start to you know, swing some of this down. It could be as low right now if we said we're going to pay for it all, as low as about $3 million. And is that something that the board and management feel comfortable about, having a fund balance at that amount? Okay? So why finance? Well, it protects your fund balance. The problem is that, yeah, that's our escrow, but no, you can't touch it.
You can't, yeah, that's where.
Okay? So there's one other thing. This is from the Wyoming School Accounting Manual. And I'm sorry, I hate PowerPoint slides that have just, but this is important. He says, under the provisions of Wyoming constitutions, it's unlawful for one board of trustees of the school district to bind a future board of trustees. So how do we collateralize something to their, you know, it feels, they're feeling okay about it. So it says long-term obligations may be construed to be illegal. Wyoming Department of Audit has determined that school districts can enter into such long-term commitments provided the terms of the lease agreement contain a no funding clause, which we will do if we go down that road, which allows a future board to void the agreement in the event that there's not enough future funding to continue the lease. Now, you void the agreement, but there's still the escrow. They still capture that.
Yeah.
And things. So this is how it could be done. Districts entering into this type of leasing arrangement must ensure that all such agreements contain a necessary no funding clause. Okay. So one of the issues that needs to be discussed is do we go down the, okay, we're going to pay for it all out of fund balance.
But we go to 3 million.
We go to 3 million. Or we finance this, but you can't touch it, but you have your...
Still at 3 million.
But it's still 3 million.
Still. Yeah. Or you could slide somewhere in between. You know, you say, all right, well, we're going to do $600,000 out of the financing portion. Because what the financing portion does is it spreads those payments out. You're not being hit all at once, but you're spreading some of that out and basically saying, hey, future years, you're also paying for that. Okay, year 7, year 8, everything that's competing with that, you're paying for that. So it could be, it doesn't have to be a all on one side, all on the other. It could be a combination in between. Okay?
So I guess my question to you is you know, we put that into that escrow.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of, it jumped out at me. Then why aren't we just paying for it? You know, because they're holding and hanging on to our money. You know, even though we are balancing out with the interest, you know, earned and interest paid out, you know, and it's, you know, net negative or neutral. But we are tying our money up with that bank, and we don't have access to that for 10 years.
Yeah. And the flip side is you have to pay your contractors. You won't have that. It will be 3 million or thereabouts.
Yeah. Chairman Peterson, members of the board, if I may, it was really my idea to push to take this loan out. But today, John and I had a pretty good discussion about this in terms of, I think it's philosophy. If we do borrow the money, we have to pay interest, regardless of how low it's going to be, to use our own money. I kind of put a little pressure on John, and maybe he'll give us his opinion later, but my opinion is that I have great confidence that if we just take our 1.75 and we spend it down, we cannot creep. 1.75 is all we get, that we'll be able to pay it off cheaper and quicker. One of the things John, he should be very proud of, is we always save money in every budget. So we line item the expense. It's now $175,000 a year. So divide that in 2 months. We pay that off. Savings that we have in the budget can go to pay that off quicker because it's just building our own fund balance. We don't have to worry about someone collateralizing our own money. It's ours. It is a huge commitment. We're going to be at $3 million, but even that, each year we have the possibility of spending it up quicker.
Okay.
We line item 200,000. That was what our goal was at the beginning. But yet, if we have savings, we can put it into carryover faster, and that debt would come down quicker. I think it's, again, I have confidence in John. I have confidence in the way we spend money. I even have confidence, believe it or not, that the state is going to figure this out with education and start funding it appropriately. In that case, to commit $200,000 a year for the next 10 years, we can do that. I think it'll be paid off quicker than 10 years. My recommendation now is that we just spend our own 1.75. We make it very clear that any creep, mission creep, whatever you want to call it, will have to be fundraised above and beyond. Kind of bold because we haven't gone out to bid. It may be more than the original bid. If you remember, the original bid for the concrete, get the structures up, was basically 1.48. We talked about 300,000 for FF&E. We want a good, solid foundation floor. I think we need to commit to that. But everyone needs to understand is a line item is a line item. That's not one area that we'll not fund ourselves every year. For the next 10 years, we're committing $200,000 or $175,000 a year to that dome. Like I said, I have great confidence. We'll just have to make sure John stays for the next 10 years so that we get this done. But, my guess is we'll pay it off faster than 10 years.
Well, I'm pretty confident Jenny will still be on the school board in 10 years, so we'll have
The idea of this last statement, binding a future board, we've bounced into this several times. And again, it would have to give flexibility to the board to say, we're not going to contribute $200,000 a year, we're paying it off now, so the next board can do what they want. We still have the flexibility of doing it. We've done several projects where we have spread it over 10 years. If you remember the energy project where we were able to do all new controls, we got no burners and boilers and whatever, that was a 10-year commitment from a board. We were able to pay it off quicker than 10 years, I believe. But hopefully you don't think I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. It's looking at this and how it's funded, it just makes sense to me. We commit $1.75 million to the project, and we take care of the payment ourselves.
Okay, it's good sound advice. You know, if you have to, if I can't explain it to my 10-year-old and not be confused myself, like, it sounds like great, but there's so much tied to it. I think it's just better to, if we have the money, we do it. Because if we have to explain this to future generation, future boards, if I can't explain it to my 10-year-old and he grasps it, I think there's always something connected to it, and there's strings attached. So
now,
I like to keep it simple.
If the board goes down that direction, what it would mean is that we would need, and typically we do this in June, but we would hold a budget hearing, gross up the budgets for this year, because we're going to start to spend. We already have, but we're going to start to spend a lot. And then we'll also probably have that same gross up amount, or a similar, it may sink a little bit, into the next year. In other words, we're going to be spending our savings, you know, but if that's the direction you want, we'll do it.
And just to make sure we put everything on the table, $3 million in a carryover makes me just a little nervous. The idea of having cash flow, we get paid every month, which is much better than it used to be. We shouldn't have cash flow problems, but there might be a time that we might. We've never been in that situation. We came close, and one time we had, what, $300,000 in a carryover. We were able to make it through. So $3 million is, I think it's an adequate carryover, but one we need to make sure that we're frugal, especially for the next 5 years. If we can save additional $200,000 a year by underfunding our budget, our carryover will look much better. Again, just to remember, when John started, we only had less than $500,000 cash. And now we just put $3 million into a beautiful field. This project, I can't imagine anyone would argue now that it's not needed when our track kids are running in the halls and our soccer kids, who knows where they've been.
It's a beautiful white field, right?
It is, yeah. I'm glad we did it in white.
So, again, that's really the decision of the board. If you go with the financing, if you go with 1.5, or if you go 1.75, or if you just commit 1.5 and 1.75 out of our own capital, is what the decision the board needs to make.
No matter what we do, we still only have 3 million carryover.
3 million that we can access.
That we can access, yeah. I mean, so, John, do you have a warm fuzzy?
Well, the issue that it's the same issue that I had last month or whatever. Mission Creek. We have got to be disciplined to get the essential with this. And then, heavens, if we're starting to, we build up that fund balance and it's at 5 million and you want to add, this feature or that feature, great, let's do it. But my take on this is that, hey, especially as economies are starting to get a little bit soft. The more fund balance I can get, the better off. And we are taking a little, so no, there's not a, but it's all you're getting with going the finance route is you'll still have a fund balance of 4.7, but you've got liabilities that are hitting your balance sheet on a in one presentation, and so that's where we kind of have to.
Well, one of the questions then I would have is that we have, in essence, 24,000 square feet of space. Mm-hmm. All right. So I think there's been discussion, but what is going to be the best use of that 24,000 square feet? And I think until we figure out what the best use is the way that we can be at 1.5 or 1.75. There's I have an opinion. Jenny, everybody has that opinion, but I think we need to make sure that we're utilizing, getting the best use, but at the where we're on budget for cost.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think is super important, and I'm glad to hear, is that hey, we're going out to bid on the contracting side. And I'll tell you, Hogan really would like to do this. They would like to do the financing and that. They were like, yeah, we want to win both sides of that. And there's another company that's working with Hogan. They're looking at Uinta's project for charter schools and things. They're going to see if this actually works.
Okay.
And so it's great. All right. We'll see. But we I would love to see the bids come in on the contracting side.
Before you commit it
To say, yeah, hey, you know, gosh, we're off and running.
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
This is what it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
And we still have that time. I mean, if bids come in overwhelmingly, we'll just have to say no. I mean, that's, all we're doing now is setting aside that you have access to these funds to move forward. I think, Trustee Wheeler, if I may, we've had lots of discussions about what the floor looks like, and that's why I'm encouraging that we plan for $300,000 for FF&E.
Yeah.
One of those domes should be a court, and one of them should be turf as the foundation. The sports court can go on top of the turf, turf can go on top of this court, but we start with one grass, one court as the foundation. Then build upon that as we go. I think that's the
So just a couple things. I talked to the board a while back ago about the idea of going out to bid just for concrete for our projects, and we did that. Positive, I know exactly what my concrete is going to cost at our end now. There's still going to be the labor costs and the installation, but right now I know I'm going to be roughly about $225 a yard, okay? Which is a win-win for us. We save taxes because we're no longer paying taxes for that concrete, and so based on just our concrete alone, we've got about an $80,000 savings that we just made based on our first initial look at this bid, which is really positive. Going back to the creeping idea, because it has been a concern, naturally, as we've designed this, we've got this bid out, and then we've kind of put in some alternates. So one of the questions that came up was, you know, what about some restrooms down the way? Well, we're going to bid that as an alternate to see, and what an alternate means is basically you've got your basic bid package, and then they come back and say it's going to cost you $125,000 for the restroom. Well, if the bid comes in at 1.5, including your FF&E and that, then as a board you can decide, yeah, we want to move forward with that alternate. Or, as John said, in 3 years you say, okay, we have paid this much back, we've got moved our fund balance up to $5 million, so now we can spend $200,000 to do the restroom. But we wanted to at least see what the price is on everything, and then we come back and renegotiate and say, okay, this is our number, this is what we have to stick to, what do we start to take away? Hard thing is there's not a whole lot to shave, but there are some things that we can start to shave with that. And so,
members of the board, if I can, Jim, I appreciate that. Just, that's one of the things that we have to be clear on is discipline. I mean, if we're going to, at some point, there'll always be a project that we want to do. And we have limited funds. I mean, we just are denying. What can we do about increasing our security? I can tell you we could put an unlimited amount of funds in there, but we have to be disciplined with this project and moving forward, that we're not putting ourselves in jeopardy. And that's the discipline part of it, and that's really what John's talking about. Everything that we spent on the field, you guys approved. So the creep was our own fault. But we needed it, we wanted it, we talked about it, you guys approved it. And that's the way it needs to be. But we don't have the flexibility we had then in terms of carryover. We're right where probably we need to start to build up again. So that's just kind of my point, my emphasis. I do think this project is well worth the risk of doing this 1.75. My opinion again.
Yep. I agree. So, what do you need from us?
We need to approve the financing end if we're going to go down the route of financing for 10 years, or if we want to do it internally and pay for it and commit to paying ourselves back over 10 years.
I would
Line
rather do
item in
that.
it. So would I. So, I mean, that's, I think that's the route. I mean, but you're the expert. We're relying on you, your opinion. I mean, so.
Yeah, so basically, the question is it go, no go on financing? And then if it's no go, then, all right, what's the second route? And that would be that. And then in probably June, we would hold a budget hearing, amend all the budgets, in the, special revenue, we make a guess of how much it's gonna come in, and, this grant is made available and things, so we need to amend the budget anyway. But at that time, we would amend for the project, and in the meantime, you've also got the contractor costs. We've got a better handle on how much that is.
On materials.
On materials and, project and all.
It is an interesting dance, because we're talking about, we're gonna put the lifts in. Can we get the lifts paid for, the lifts themselves paid for this year, which would require a budget adjustment, but that would help us get reimbursed for next year. Whatever we have to spend out of next year's budget on that, we have the responsibility of floating those funds. So if we could get all three of those lifts purchased before the end of June, it puts us in a better financial position for the future. So the timing is pretty critical on all this stuff, and everyone's aware of those times. I think that's the safeguard in this, is as we move closer to the bids coming in and the cost of this project, that's truly when you're going to make a commitment of either 1.5 or 1.75. So I guess right now, do you want to finance this, or are we just going to pay for it ourselves and give permission to move forward with the bids?
So I guess that's the motion that we need to go down. So the motion we need to go down probably is whether or not we're going to go pursue the financing end of it. And I don't know if we need to have a motion to approve it internally right now, or do we need to have that approved to go
You need to have a
after
motion, but
bidding?
if you don't have a second, then it dies.
Then it dies.
So,
No, but what I'm saying is, do I need to go down, do we have to have a motion to approve internal financing and financing it ourselves? Or, I know we have to have a second, but what we need to do is on the motion, whether or not we're going to seek financing, because it's on the agenda.
I see what you mean.
Chairman
Yeah, because we didn't specify.
My recommendation would be either accept the financing or you don't.
That's what I said. The motion
Just
right now is just
yeah.
whether to approve the financing, to go
That's
after
the
it,
question.
that's been presented to us, or to not.
Yes.
So-
And then understanding that our bids are going to continue forward, and you'll have another opportunity to accept those bids.
Those bids at a later
And then
time.
make an adjustment to the...
And understand internally that we are going to do this within the house.
Yes.
So the other thing that we need to talk a little bit about then is our lifts, because it's not on the agenda. Is that something that we have to approve here at this time? Do we have to have a modification to the agenda?
No.
The cost of the lifts, we don't, that's,
That was a budget presentation.
Okay,
that
all right.
was going to purchase, so...
okay, all right,
You guys already encouraged me to make that happen, so...
Okay, all right.
We're going to make it happen.
okay,
Good question.
Yeah.
So-
When that purchase comes up, you guys will approve it then.
okay. Sounds good. All right, so then I need a...
Mr. Chairman,
Okay,
then I would propose that Uena County School District Number 1 enter into a agreement with First American that lends us the principal amount of $1.5 to $1.75 million.
do I have a second? I heard birds. So I don't have a second. Motion dies. Motion does not carry.
Thank you, members of the board, appreciate it.
All righty then.
We don't support you, Dan. I tried.
Everybody's so quick with seconding things, I was a little bit nervous. We're gonna have to kill it with names.
Everybody voted no.
Better than I don't. That's.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda, we need to approve the technology purchases as presented.
Chairman Peterson, I'm going to default to our tech director, explain the purchases as requested.
Chairman Peterson, members of the board, as per policy, any thing that we spend over $10,000, we need to get board approval for. And so what I try to do each year is just kind of present my budget for the year and you'll see expenditures for over $10,000. If you would like me to go through each one of those items, I'd be happy to, or if you have any questions on those items that I've listed, I'd be happy to answer those questions, but that is why I'm coming to you now to just seek your permission to be able to move forward come July 1st with those.
So these aren't additional funds, these are your budget funds?
These are my budget funds, yep, for next year.
So just want to approve your budget for next year that's going to exceed $10,000.
Yep. That way I don't have to come every meeting and say, now I'm going to buy this, or now I'm going to do this. So, almost like a consent agenda.
So, anything else on that?
The only other thing is the second part is the SIPC compliance, and basically it's the Child Internet Protection Act. Was that on? Or am I ahead of the game?
You're ahead of the game. So
okay. Well, I'm sorry.
That's item F, because I do have a couple of questions on that one.
Please. So we'll stick with our budgetary items right now.
So let's stick with the budgetary item right now. So I need an approval to approve the technology purchases for next year as needed and defined by Jaron Dennis.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to support that.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Cool.
Thank you very much. Second part is student privacy, SIPA, FERPA, COPA. Part of E-rate funding and part of our policy is to be able to ensure that we are protecting our students to the best of our ability. And in essence, that's what SIPA does. That's why we have a content filter. LineWise is our content filter that we use. And just so you know, because of our Chromebooks, those are student devices that we as a district provide. When they go home, that content filter follows them at home on those Chromebooks as well.
So they are loaded on the Chromebook itself.
Mm-hmm. So basically they have the same proxy or the same security as they would here at school, which frustrates some people, but I'm like, hey, it's a district device, that's the way it's going to be. So there's a lot. We do have this posted on the district website. That's where a lot of this disclaimer comes from, and then the actual wording with that is as part of this. So questions that you may have in regards to what we try to do as a district in regard to protecting our kids.
So as I was trying to read through this today, I'm emphasizing trying, on everything that's in there, you know, the one thing that kind of popped out to me when I first seen it, without knowingly, and that's the thing that concerned me, was like Google, they have a disclaimer on there without knowingly knowing that they are getting some of our kids' information. And so, I mean, how do we protect ourselves against something like that? Because that disclaimer's in there, so are they actually, they're trying not to, but how do we make sure that our kids are safe?
So one of the policies that we actually have is dealing with what's called student data and privacy, or student data privacy. And we've actually, Google runs kind of three parts of their business. They've got the free part, which if you've got just a free Google account, know that your stuff is not private. Just know that. It's going to be sold, it's going to be bought, it's going to be resold, and that's how these telemarketers and vendors get their good information, okay? There's a business portion that you can buy, and you can pay X amount of dollars each month to have a business Google account. In that, there's some security features and some privacy that is part of that are built in. And then there's what's called Google Apps for Education, which is where our domain falls and our Google. And as part of that, they have to show that they do not sell any of our student. Now, where's the guarantee?
That was the phrase that I was struggling with in there.
And I guess with anything, we have to take some trust. They have to, if they become aware that one of our student email accounts has become compromised, they have to contact us make us aware so that we can then go through the due diligence in contacting that parent or anybody else that's become aware. Knock on wood, we've been using Google now for about 9 years. Google has not contacted us with that. And the same would be true with almost any hosted email with that. But it is a great question. But Google Apps for Education, when our students sign in, that means their Google Docs are protected, their Google Sheets, basically anything with Google. If they're signing in with YouTube, the things that they search and do with YouTube, none of that is filtered or used to develop AIs to kind of help say, hey, you should be doing this, this, and this. It's all contained. Yes, Google's aware, but we still kind of have ownership into that.
So that's question one.
Okay.
Now comes the hard one.
Yeah.
As I was going down through there again, it appears that some of our information is shared. We're going to share data between school districts and other agencies and different things. But the question that I had was in there that it is automatically set up for each student that they are going to be, their information is going to be available to whoever we share it with, unless an individual or parent comes in and asks for their information not to be shared.
That's FERPA.
Yeah. So they're going to have to, so that's what I'm saying. So I don't know if there's any parents out there, or are they aware of that they can opt out of this data sharing with their kids, or is it?
If I may, we have to send out by law a notice every year of an individual's FERPA rights.
Okay.
We put that in the paper, it's on our website, and a parent can withdraw that directory information and choose not to share it. We have very few that do that because we're talking about diplomas, silver honor roll in the newspaper. You couldn't do that. It's very restrictive. The military has access to that information by law. We have to provide it, so the things that we do provide. But our FERPA rights are out there every year. We try to explain it. We've only really had 1 year where anyone said, well, what the heck is this? And it was 2016, and we just made it clear, no, we don't sell directory information. But by law, it's out there for students. Directory information, really, every student in every school district, it's provided. This also protects the students' rights until they're 18. Parents can have access to this information. School officials, or even if you do not have direct responsibility to that student, you should not be dealing with an educational record. That's how tight it is in terms of confidentiality of the student's record. So we've never really had issues with it. I think we've had just one student in the past that didn't want to be on video, so we have to be really careful with that too. Someone comes in to video a Halloween party, we have to make sure it's careful, but thank goodness we've been pretty lucky.
Okay, and those were the only couple things as I was reading down through there. Like I said, I didn't have anything better to do, so thought I'd done through that. But, so anyway, that was a couple of questions. You answered them. I appreciate that. Was just a couple of things, because they mentioned a couple times in there that parents have the option to come in and opt out if they wanted to, and then also Google, not knowingly. So.
Great questions, and I think as a board, being informed as to what we try to do to protect our students' safety and their data and stuff like that. So I appreciate you bringing up those questions, because I don't think enough people really understand, because they're not reading through all of this stuff. And there's a lot that we try to do to protect our students the best that we can.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's 4 pages of fine print. I needed a magnifying glass, so.
So Jared, is Linewise the Australian company?
Yeah, they're out of Australia. They've been working in the United States now for about 4 years. We went with them about 3.5 years ago. Been a great company as far as our content filter. We've gone through a lot of different content filters, but they do a great job. The state just adopted them as one of the options that we get, which is a win-win for us, because now the state will pay for that, which is awesome. So.
Perfect.
Other questions in relationship to the compliance?
Anybody? No?
I don't know enough to ask her.
Get with Chairman Peterson, he's read through it.
Don't ask me anything outside them 2 questions. It's pretty dry, so. Anything else? Nothing?
Just need to approve it.
We will. So I need a motion to approve the student privacy, SIPA, FERPA, and COPA compliance.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. That is the last of our action items. So we are going to open this up to roundtable. If there's anybody on the board that has any comments or concerns that we need to address at this time.
I have a question.
Okay.
You talked about our hospitalization and our insurance and hoping it wasn't going up or whatever for this. Do we still have a committee that comes and meets for the insurance?
We haven't for a couple of years because of our limited options. We try to, we discuss about every 3 years do we go out to bid for this. We haven't probably for 4 or 5 years just because of, I think, the nature of health insurance, the concerns that there are very few providers. I think there's only 2, one of which we participate in. We may get a lower rate for a year, and then we're back to the same issues, so we haven't. Typically, what I do is I bring those changes to negotiations. So instead of having a small group that decide on recommendations, they go to negotiations and we negotiate those. So we've already agreed to any increase in insurance, the district pays half, the employees pay half. So if we're going to change the benefit, brings that amount down, district pays half, employees pay half. That's been negotiated the last 2 or 3 years.
So do we still send the insurance out for bidding every few
We
years?
haven't.
We haven't? Do we need to?
Depends who you ask. For me, I still think we're in a really bad time to go out to bid because of our high claims. I still think we're going to look at trend, which is a nationwide thing. We're going to be above trend. So our ability to negotiate with our current company has really saved us. And we lose that if we go out to bid. Could we negotiate with them in the future once we get that first year bid? Probably, they're willing to, but we haven't seen that in the past from any other providers. We went through with at least 2 other companies, and their willingness to negotiate with us in terms of rates hasn't been very good.
Well, I just have some concerns about our insurance, and there are some problems with it.
Most definitely, and that's reflective of every insurance company and every insurance program. We still are able to provide, I think, a very good benefit package. It's not like it used to be in terms of we paid for all of it. It's roughly a 75-15, it's 85-15 split. Actually, it's about 83-17 now. That keeps going up because of the cost, employees sharing more of that cost. But every year it's between $300,000 to $600,000, the district's portion of that. We've had a couple good years, but like I said, this has been a rough year. I get a report 4 times a year on the quarter where we are with our premiums, and our premiums are already over 90% of our claims are over 90% of our premiums already, and that was minus 1 quarter. So I think it'll be challenging. The commitment to go out to bid is really up to us. I mean, it just takes time, and probably time we do it again, but like I said, I wish things would settle down a little bit. Maybe they won't. One year we went out to bid and there was only 1 bidder anyway. So this side of the state and our expectation that we use Wasatch Front, we'll always get a quote from, is it Web? What is that? The state's insurance? But it prevents us and our employees from using the Wasatch Front. So we always go to another provider so our employees have flexibility to go to the Wasatch Front, stay in Wyoming. That's why we've stayed with who we've stayed with. So we lose flexibility by going with the state's insurance, and it's not as good insurance. So that's why we really have never been fired up to go back out to bid. It's probably been 4 years since we bid it out.
Have we ever done the state insurance?
No, because of the reason that we've expressed. It costs us more.
You'd have to go to Casper.
We'd have to go to Casper.
Sort of your closest provider. As opposed to Salt Lake.
Well, here, yeah, but I know my grandson in Laramie had to go to Rock Springs if he wanted to be seen by a doctor, and that's a pretty good jaunt.
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
They just fixed that.
Yeah, so my daughter's got a card actually in Laramie right now, so she's got a card and they've got approved doctors and everything over in Laramie.
Okay.
So there's approved.
That's part of the negotiations that continues.
Yeah, so we just gave her her card, so maybe look into that a little bit, so.
Yeah.
So I guess the question on this end is, have we ever looked at going in, can we get better rates of, if we went in with like a Lyman or a Mountain View District Number 6, or as far as going jointly after a insurance policy?
In my opinion, we wouldn't. We're the large pool.
Okay.
All we pick up is their large claims. I don't think there'd be savings. Even with the county and the city, we lose flexibility of our own people in our own community. That's why the state's insurance, in theory, would be better because the pool's larger. But Wyoming's a tough place to do any kind of business like that. So we're still considered a large pool, which surprises me. I thought we'd be a small pool, but we're one of the large pools in Aetna's network.
We do combine with BOCES.
You do, yeah, with BOCES, yeah.
BOCES.
Yeah.
So they pay the same rates we do. So
Yeah, how many employees there, 20?
yeah,
12, yeah, so.
Could we combine, like you said, with another school district and do better?
That was just what he was just talking about, is we would, our rates might go up a little bit because we have to carry the smaller schools with it.
What if we went with a bigger school and they had to carry us?
they wouldn't do it.
Yeah, just like we would want to do them,
Yeah.
so.
Now, we've looked around at the different insurance packages that others offer. The difference is we still offer full insurance to all employees. Several of the local districts only offer it to certified. So our support staff would be out in the cold. Our district has made the decision that, no, if you work a full 40 hours, 35 hours to 40 hours, you would qualify for insurance. Roughly 83% of the district.
Federally, we're 32, right? Anything above 32 hours, we have to provide insurance.
And we break it down. If you were 25, you pay 50/50. And then we have that for our support staff. We still have support staff that don't qualify because they're less than 4 hours a day. But that's one of the reasons. We've looked at high deductible plans. There's no benefit for us because of our nature, just our history, I guess. High benefit plans, right now, the savings, you lose the savings. It's the healthy ones that really want to push that. I would say the young and healthy. But even then, we just haven't seen a benefit. And we review that every year. We actually reviewed it in negotiations last year, brought them a sheet and explained why that doesn't help us. So we'll continue to ask that. We've also been asked for a, what do they call that, a cafeteria plan, where an individual gets $1,500 in insurance. They can purchase or not purchase or get the $1,500 to put into an HRA. And that would kill our plan, because you would have people that would opt out and our
Lose your
pool
numbers,
number
pool
would
number
drop
drive
down. The only ones that would take the insurance are those that are not healthy, and so it would kill us. So in terms of the whole, we've looked at that philosophy over. Now, I was on the original insurance committee back in '88, so I was on that committee from '88 until I moved into it. It's from 100% covered, which was wonderful in our district, to now it's, like I said, 83-17%. Good 80-20 plan, but our options in this side of the state for what we want and our employees want are limited. But I'm always willing, if you guys want me to go out to bid, we can go out to bid. Probably not this year, but...
Well, I just wondered if we still had a committee and if you were looking into it for the future. I know it's been tough since COVID and all of this stuff.
If you do go out to bid, I would put the committee back together.
Okay.
And that's the only way to do it right. So we'd need to start more like November to do that right, to get the committee together to put specs and RFQs and go from there. So,
We have good points about our insurance, but there's some bad points too that.
yeah, most definitely. And the best way to avoid issues with insurance is not to get sick.
Well, I agree.
They're there for everybody. But again, overall, typically we're able to solve all the issues. It may take some individuals months, but we get
Months,
to the bottom.
yeah.
Anything else? I'm gonna pick John's here after this.
Well, remember, we have a short executive.
I know.
Short executive.
So, I guess I need a motion to leave the board meeting at this time.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to leave the regular scheduled board meeting, and I need a, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, there will be no action afterwards. We'll release from chamber, so there won't be any further action.
No. Okay, go.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we enter an exec, no, we already did that, didn't we?
We'll go in there, yeah. So, a motion.